on startup survival based on best practice gathered in Israel. If you're interested in participating in our call, you could go to our website. It's called Denmark in Israel, or just write to us or give us a ring. Today's theme is fundraising in difficult times, and it seems like Israeli startups are vaccinated against the pains of not raising funds when times are hard. In fact, when you look at the numbers, it seems that there is no crisis. The Israeli tech industry continued to attract huge sums of foreign investments. Last year, in 2020, Israeli startups attracted 10 billion US dollars in 607 deals. Most of this money came from the US. However, there's a new trend, which is that also European funds are finding their way to Israel. European investments in Israel rose last year by 63%, reaching 1.2 billion US dollars. And just now, in 2021, in January, there was a new record. In 1 month, Israeli startups attracted 1.4 billion US dollars. That's rather impressive, especially when you take into consideration that we are in the midst of a global crisis. So today we'll have a roundtable on what are the Israeli companies doing to attract these sums, and we have Hanan from Cornerstone Venture Partners with us. We have Vladi Sandler, who's a co-founder of Lightspin, and we have Efrat Yudovic, who's a co-founder at Achieve Technologies. After the roundtable and after our discussion, we have a special guest star from Denmark. So I will give the floor to Hanan.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to share my screen. 1 second. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay. Thanks everyone for coming, and the Innovation Center for hosting me and for hosting us. So thank you everyone for coming. So I'll talk a few minutes, maybe five or 7 minutes, about fundraising during these uncertain times. Just a few words about myself. I'm in the last 14 years, worked in the venture capital industry here in Israel. I started in the Ofer Brothers. It's one of Israel's largest conglomerates. So we did investment in companies, IT, medical devices, clean tech, did the seed investment in Checkmarks, that is now a unicorn here in Israel, and some other interesting companies in the space. After that, I joined JVP, it's Jerusalem Venture Partners, one of the largest funds in Israel. I was involved in some interesting IPOs, including the one of CyberArk and ClickTech that you might know. It's a Swedish company. We invested quite early, and I was there to help with the IPO at the time. We did some other investment in cybersecurity and software companies. Just yesterday, Earnix, which is another company we invested very early at the time, also became a unicorn. It's an insurance company. And 4 years ago, I left the fund to establish my own fund. It's a US-Israeli fund called Cornerstone Venture Partners. We invest in early stage investments in mostly software-oriented B2B companies. So anything from video, IoT, websites, SaaS companies, video, etc. So you can see our companies on the right. I'm also a founder of a nonprofit organization called Made in Jerusalem, which is the umbrella organization for the tech ecosystem of the city, of the capital of Israel. That's about me in a nutshell. Now, I think we all understand that the COVID-19 pandemic implication are here to stay with us. So even I'm happy to be vaccinated. I got my second vaccine last week, got my certificate. That's probably not going to change too much on a global level. And these implications are going to be with us for at least a decade. shaping a global new future. Major sectors were hit. Think about the travel industry, think about hospitals, think about many different sectors that currently are trying to find new models to stay relevant and not to be hit again as hard as they were hit in 2020. Another, I think, important thing is there are no more real separation between what's called the tech sector and non-tech sector. Everything is now combined together. I'll talk about it in a second. And basically, the global economy cannot really let this crisis happen again, and that's there's a lot of opportunities. If we compare what happened this year to maybe the two big crises of 2001 and 2008, we can see that in 2001, as you probably know, that the Twin Towers that were hit created a lot of new implications. So there are a lot of regulations around the data centers, cybersecurity, homeland security, cloud computing that did not exist at the time. And that created a lot of impact on the technology sectors all around the world, but specifically in Israel. These are the sectors that in the last 20 years, Israel was really, I think, a global leader in. 2008 was a bit different. You can see how for around 24 months, there was a really big decline in investing. This is venture capital investing per year. And it dropped 40%. It took around 24 months and it recovered. That's why, especially because it was a financial crisis and not a cyber crisis, not a terror crisis. And it took 24 months to have the amount of money back into the industry. But if we compare it, of course, to what's going on today, you can see the NASDAQ for the last 5 years. The COVID impact was only for 2-3 months. And then we see this amazing rally that the world believes that technology is the solution for what's happening today. Could be that it's a bubble, could be that it's exaggerated and too much money is today poured into technology. But it's the current belief is technology is eating the world. Which is, of course, very good for startups who are starting these days. Huge amounts of money are now invested from governments, corporates. You see that House of Committee approved the massive tech spending. That's, of course, also pouring a lot of money into the market, which is also very, very relevant for startups these days. I'm sure other speakers are going to talk about sectors that are changing, but just a few examples of sectors that will be amazing to have new startups these days. Digital healthcare, remote patient monitoring, preventive healthcare to make sure that people don't get diseases before. Future of hospitals and HMOs are probably going to look very different than what they are today. Government technology, as we saw, digitalization is happening much quicker than expected. Things that were stuck for years. We still needed to send faxes to the government until recently, and this year really changed things. So it's a good time to create startups in this sector as well. The future of work, even if we're going to get back to our work spaces, I believe work from home is going to continue. This hybrid model of working, of course, supply chains and IoT, smarter machines. That's also a very interesting sector these days. And the education system, I think everyone here that has kids understands that the Zoom, is not really created for 6-year-old kids or 14-year-old kids. And we're probably going to see a lot of disruptions around our education systems. We can see from the 2008 recession that some amazing companies were created during these harsh times, including Instagram and WhatsApp and Uber and Groupon and Square and Slack. So across sectors beyond meat. In Israel, we had unicorns that all of them were created during the bad times of 2008 to 2010 when there was not too much seed money in the market. So bottom line, I really think it's a good time to create a startup. Another thing about investing is I believe this work from home that we all experience is flattening the world even more than what it was before, which means that I expect more money to also pour into ecosystems for investing. So if in the past there were a lot of funds that said, I want to invest only in Boulder, Colorado, because I want to see the founder in front of me, I think that's going to probably change, which means more accessible capital for Europe, more capital for different regions. I can say in my specific fund, we invested only in Israel and the US in this current fund. And in the new fund that we're going to establish, we're probably going to be open to invest all across because, Zoom, there's no difference if you're with me here or you're in Denmark. We're basically in the same time. You can also create cross-border companies where some of the company is based in Denmark, some in Israel, some in the US. So bottom line, I really think these are great times to found a new company. And I'll be happy to answer any question that you have. That's it.
Thank you. We actually have a question from Roy. We'd like to know if investors are focusing on different sectors now than prior to the COVID-19 crisis. Are the investment profile changing? Are financial sustainability more important than transaction?
Than traction.
Oh, sorry.
Are you here, Roy? Maybe you can ask it so I can understand the
Yeah,
question.
I'm here. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm just curious. I'm from University of Southern Denmark, and I'm helping startups in the early stage. And I have been entrepreneur for 12 years, and I've raised money. But I'm just curious to know if this situation here with COVID-19 are changing the investment profiles for investors in general. Like, are we seeking more? Is the landscape changing? Are we seeking more a financial sustainability company, or traction still the most important? So I'm just curious which factors or parameters you can say are the investors looking into now? Has it changed?
Okay, I think it's a great question. You know, before you talked about the amount of money coming into Israel, which is booming, and I think that's amazing. I don't think it's separate. The amount of money today was going to growth stage companies, pre-IPO, much more, you know, mature companies is amazing. It's crazy in the way I see it. We're benefiting from it, but it's not the same amount that goes to seed. I'm actually seeing a decline in the amount of new startups created in the last couple of years, especially this year. Most of the funds are going higher and not really want to take the lower risk. So on that stage, there's still some work to be done. Having said that, I believe that's going to change. So more funds are going to be established to invest in these, you know, the future of the global economy. So the sectors that I talked before, maybe some new sectors that I did not mention. And COVID-19 is going to be the title, right? Which means that if you don't have why is this relevant for the post-COVID-19 era, you're not going to get funding. I would say, take my slide about the 2001, 2009. Things changed dramatically during these years, and companies that were able to take advantage and understand that the world is shifting, the mind of people is shifting, really benefited from that. So in 2009, maybe it was around finance and cloud computing. 2020 is probably going to be around education or around the future of work, machines, around the healthcare. So I believe people with good ideas will find good funding in this year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'd like to give the floor to Vladdy Sandler, co-founder of Lightspin. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. 1 second, please. Perfect. So now I can see my screen also. So thank you very much for your time today. We're really happy to present and share more about our story. Lightspin is a contextual cloud security platform. About myself and about my second co-founder, my friend Or Zazar, we have combined experience of 23 years of offensive security. About 10 of them are on offensive cloud security. We actually took all our knowledge and experience and methodologies that we built during the years to convert it to be product. We are working today with both global and local players, including companies like Micro Focus and including Fortune 500 companies. And we actually raised our fund from Ibex investors and American Venture Capital during the period of the peak of the COVID. And I thought it would be interesting to share with you the flow, what we did, how exactly we thought what we should do, and what was the process. And maybe in few words more about Lightspeed themselves. For those of you who are familiar with or not cloud markets, the challenge today in the cloud is that, especially during the COVID, that in the end of the day, the digital transformation accelerate, and the COVID accelerate the process of move to the cloud, but we don't always have the experience and the knowledge. The bigger challenge is that the current solutions on the market provide you with a list of findings, but attackers don't think in lists. It's actually thinking graph, trying to do lateral movement, which is a context. That's why Lightspeed actually do the same offensive approach, provide you a contextual view, which means we can collect the different problems you have in your cloud environment, connect the dots, and show you the attack path to the damage. So you can say that we're like the Google Navigator of the offensive cloud security. And of course, give you the simple, clear remediation plan, including integration to your CI/CD, so we can actually simplify your cloud security posture management. And when we started to work, we actually left our positions during December 19. And I have to say that when we started 2020, no one thought about COVID. It was like an interesting surprise for us. But exactly as Hanan said before, sounds like it just accelerates the investment on the market, because experienced investors know that the best time to build something is actually during the crisis, not before or after, but actually during the crisis. So we started to see that there is more acceleration of budget. But if we will take it one step before that, it's important to understand that when the crisis started, actually, I even remember that Sequoia announced that everyone has to be more careful with their budget and keep the budget, and a lot of venture capitals during February, March, and April not really wanted to do an investment. But it wasn't matter, because if you do good preparation for the process of raising your fund, you probably will succeed to do it. It doesn't matter what is the period is on the global market exactly. So our timeline started during January. February, we actually formally became to be a company, and in the first days of March, we signed our term sheet. And formally on May, we got a company with manpower and everything we need in order to accelerate the process of the biz dev and the R&D. And that's exactly the flow I would love to share with you, how exactly we did and what exactly we did. Because I get most of my experience in Ernst & Young. It's a place where first thing they're teaching us to do is methodology. You have to be a really methodology-based, oriented process. And if you do it in the right way, it's much more easier for you. So during January, we didn't try to raise funds. There were venture capitals that tried to contact us, but we rejected the request. We didn't want to meet no one. We did just two main things. First of all, product market fit. I think that if you really want to raise fund, you have to do a good product market fit. And let me explain what does it mean. We technically interview 45 customers global around the world in 2.5 weeks. During January, in 2.5 weeks, that's what we did from the morning up to the midnight, from Australia, Europe to United States. We technically just making interviews in order to validate that our idea and the pain and the solution is exactly what the market needs. And once we succeed to do this process on so good way, we actually just pay to some freelancer in Fiverr who actually help us to build our first pitch deck that we use to raise our fund. But not only that, another thing that is always important to do is technical proof of concept. So I brought eToro, is a fintech company in Israel. We showed them use some basic Python and a lot of manual process. We showed them the proof of concept that what we are actually talking about is realistic and it can work. we prove it and become to be even design partner, which is another great achievement because now you have product market fit, design partner, a paid design partner, which is even better, and you have a good PowerPoint, so you can use it now to go and achieve your next step during February, which is actually raise your fund. So that's exactly what we started to do. First of all, I want to show to my venture capitals again that we're serious. So we don't work anywhere but 100% only on Lightspin. We actually initiated the company and started to pitch venture capitals, which was a super interesting process. Somewhere during the first 3 weeks, I met, on the third week, I met Nicole from IBEX Investors. We had on this point one venture capital has been interested in, and we rejected their suggest because we felt it's not the perfect match. We had another term sheet open for us that we sought to sign, and we met IBEX, who really impressed us as a venture capital, and we saw it's a perfect match. So actually during March, we signed a term sheet, and we started actually to work together on the negotiation of all the terms. And during this period, as a CEO of the company, I continued to build my business, which means, first of all, we brought another big design partner, a big customer, a global one this time. Another important thing I started to do, we started to run some kind of bootstrap, during which we started to brought some one-time scans, one-time value-oriented assessments, a paid one, which was a really good fit for us to see that we can do a business from this story, and we get data. The most important thing on this stage was data, because as more data I collect from different customers, my developers can use it in order to develop better product now, because it's something that we needed. So we invested a lot of resources there, and of course we built our realistic one P&L that we started to use in order to better understand how exactly we're going to build our company with milestones both from financial point of view and R&D point of view. And actually during May we hired our first office, hired our team. We succeeded to hire both office and all the required team in less than 2 weeks. The core team, we use it in order to accelerate the process of the development. So basically somewhere on about June, we had a prototype, a stable version of our prototype. During August, I brought a head of marketing, a head of product, in order to accelerate the quality of the product and the business side and the messaging that we want to pass to the market. So on September, we launched our MVP version, and during December, we launched our GA version. And the most important thing, during all this period, we actually been in stealth mode. We didn't try to publish anything, because one of the most important things is to build everything on the right way so you can make as small noise as possible once you get from the stealth. We defined a milestone that the end of November will be our emerge from stealth mode, and that's exactly what we did. It brought us a lot of noise, a lot of traffic, a great opportunity with great customers. During this period, we started to write a lot of blogs, a lot of information and content, and even published open source solutions and webinars, so the ecosystem can get more from Lightspin, because not everything is just about the product, right? Sometimes it's just to give value back to the market. Yeah, today we 15 employees, 6 customers, 15 active pilots. We chosen as one of the top 20 most promising startups by Forbes and CRN, and we continue to grow in hiring. Questions?
Christian, just an extra question. Do you know why the top 2 educations are the same thing? Do some users like?
I think someone is disabled the mute in this.
Like 2 categories.
Here some extra.
You see here? Yeah, because you see there's law
Someone have a question?
I'm not sure if that was a question or.
Maybe I can.
No, it sounds like it.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it sounded interesting with developing under stealth. So my question is, when is the right time to start publishing something about your company? Because sometimes investors also want to see that it's well known or that it's been talked about and stuff like that. So when is the right time, and does the actual industry?
It's a good question. So there are different strategies. Okay, since I made only one startup in my life, so I can give the only strategy I experience, and it's stealth mode. Not all the startups have to be in stealth mode. Not all the startups have to do that. You can publish it even a couple of weeks after. It really depends on you and your capacity. I know that venture capital sometimes can be a little bit pressure about it. We want to do some publicity because the venture capital also want to use it to see that they're active. But everything is about infrastructure. And if you will build the right infrastructure, you will get more traction. And let me explain. In order to get out from stealth, it was super important for us, first of all, to build a messaging, a positioning, a new brand, build our website, build content. So everyone who will access the website, he will actually see that we're a professional, serious company, and we are a mature company to work with. Because if you won't do that, once people will enter, they will see nothing and no one will contact you, and no one would love to see a demo or POC. They will feel that it's not mature enough for them. Customers looking for mature things, customers looking for value. Second point, you need someone who will take full responsibility about this process. It's a really difficult process. It took us 3 months. Technically, that's why I brought during August the head of marketing. She took all the responsibility on it, and we get her from the stealth during end of November. Another important thing, never get her from stealth mode just in one day. It's not the right thing to do that. You have to build some staging. So you want to know that once you will get from the stealth, there will be as more traffic as possible, and you need to build this traffic, right? So we created a Lightspin LinkedIn page. We started to publish some common knowledge information, some newspapers, some posts, basic posts, less about us, more about the market. We started to rise the number of the followers after the LinkedIn page. So when we get it from the stealth, we had 500 followers, right? So which means we know for sure that at least 500 people will see the publicity. We use PR agents that will start to pitch us to global and local players. And the traction was so powerful that during this period, we lost control during the emerge from stealth. During the emerge from stealth, we started to hear that newspapers in Germany, Australia, United Kingdom, United States, we didn't control it, started to publish it us just because we succeeded to build it in the right way. We uploaded some basic page of our website in order to get the opportunity to Google to make the index of our website, right? 2 weeks before the merge, we started to upload more content, the homepage, the blog page, about us page. So it's a period. You have to build it as a structure and a staging. And once you do it in the right way, in the day you will decide to get out, you'll see huge amount of traction, better MQLs, better SQLs, and you won't lose this opportunity because a lot of startups are running together from stealth and they don't understand maybe it is the best traction and traffic they can get in the first 2 years.
We have other questions from Henrik, who would like to know if the core team has ownership in the company.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Does the core team have ownership in your company?
So we are 2 founders. I think that 2 is the best number. That's my personal opinion. There is teams of 3 also, but the founders, we are 2 founders. And the core team is that something that you need to build by yourself and understand what is exactly the core team? Because core team are the people who will give the most for the company. They will probably get more shares. They will got at first they will get pay less, but they bigger believer, bigger chances that once the company will grow, they will get bigger position, bigger option, and of course more money in the future.
Thank you so much. Let's continue. I'd like to give the floor to Efrat Yurovic, who is a co-founder at Chief Technology.
Hey, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to share a bit about my experience in this field. And actually, I'm excited to do it via Zoom because I'm not going to show you a presentation or a deck about my company. I'm going to bring myself and share my personal story and my companies as well. I think that COVID-19, you know, Hanan showed us several sectors which provides opportunities. There are so many more. Me, for example, I'm in the real estate sector, which is another sector that was back in the 80s, I think, before COVID-19, and now hopefully is going to the digital era, and I will share in a minute. So to start with, my name is Efrat. I started my career by doing audit at Ernst & Young. Like Vladi was sharing that he took his methods and processes from there. So do I. I'm a great believer that it's all about people. I wish I could see you face to face and not like via video and stuff. But I think that the fact that we are talking via this machine obviously provides a lot of opportunities to create new solutions in many fields and to raise money very fast. I think that the process of raising money is much shorter than it used to be before COVID-19. And I think that it's a great opportunity for everybody to take a step and think about something which is huge pain in their life and figure out how to solve this pain. Israel is known for being a startup nation, and this is why the Innovation Center is very successful here. And I'm sure that you get a lot of support from this area. But I think that, like Hanan mentioned before, we are flat now, so you can be also startup nation and work with us, invest with us. I would love to get people from Denmark to join my venture, etc. I started my career, as I mentioned, by doing audits. I moved from there to create the business development and innovation at Deloitte, and from there to investment banking. And what I want to show you from this path that I took, that everything is possible. It doesn't mean anything if you started your career by doing audit, or if you were working on, I don't know, on education or anything else which is not technology necessarily. Today, the biggest, I think, power of Israelis is the power to change, is the power to adopt the environment, to make impact, and to create solutions. So I came back from New York. I used to live in New York for the last 3 years. I came back just before COVID-19 started, and I was stuck in Israel. I figured out, okay, I'm not going back to New York, where I was doing a lot of startup and mentoring several acceleration programs, such as Techstars and such. What can I do? Well, I didn't know for how long I'm going to stay in Israel. I'm a world traveler. I did my studies in IE in Spain. So I figure out I will go to my family business. And my family business is real estate. Well, my dad still used facsimilia, the fax machine, to communicate with people. And coming from reporting made me realize that the real estate sector is still very late behind. People that are having an amazing projects, building and selling first-time apartments, commercial, multifamilies, etc., are still developing to their investors in PDFs. They are doing the reporting, let's say, quarterly basis in the good term, monthly base in the best terms. But how come in the stock market you can see with your mobile every day where is your investments, what happened to the market, etc.? How come in the real estate market, which is like the largest, worldwide, there isn't any tool which allows you to follow it or to communicate with your investors and to offer them some more interesting deals that according to the BI, you can know that they would like to invest in it. People are looking for more channels. I think this is another reason why it's easier to raise funds these days, because there is money in the world, but the channels are not slick enough. So me and my partner created a communication platform. It's a SaaS platform for GPs to communicate better with their LPs or with anyone on this sector, where as a GP, you can just send all your documents, let's say to a file. It can be a PDF, words, pictures, doesn't matter. And using ORC technologies and AI, we provide you the ability to have a beautiful portal that anyone can enter, each one of your investors, of course, and get this information in his own language, to see the development, to get the distribution from investments and such. Well, we started early 2020. We raised our seed money from the founders of Wix. Wix allows you to build a website, and we allows you to build a communication platform. We started in the real estate sector because I think this sector is big, enormous, and it's really in pains. If real estate investor used to have lunch, drinks, play golf with their investors, this day they need to sit in front of the computer and try to sell their vision and their dream in this way. So we are going to build for them a digital asset to tell their story, to bring you the feeling that you are in Denmark, for example, in Copenhagen, and you can see the beautiful city and understand the potential of investing in real estate in this area. So it was very easy to raise, even though we were talking with these people via computer and not face-to-face. And the pain that we are solving is a pain which could be for many other industries as well, where you have one side of creators and another side of investors. And we are these days going to Europe. We already have some clients in the UK market and Germany. And I think that what I want to bring you from this, like 5 minutes of talking a bit about myself, is first that you have the ability to change and to create and think out of the box in a way that every pain and every change is an opportunity to grow. I would like to share with you, I don't know if I can share the screen. Is it a possibility that I can share screen with you guys?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. So I'm going to share the screen and to show you a bit about our technology. And as I mentioned before, sorry for jumping from one topic to another, you don't necessarily need to be a technology person or to be in the tech sector in order to create, to innovate, and to move from one sector to another. I think that today I want to go back to Hanan's presentation. Everybody is, the lines between the old industry to the new industry are very, they are not existing anymore. COVID-19 made it even more clear. So I think that, sorry, I prefer to ask you if you want to see my video to see how it works, or if you prefer to ask me questions about raising money, about innovating, and if I can provide you some more insight from my wide experience.
Do you have any?
Okay, video. Cool. Okay. How do I share the screen? Sorry, I'm such a lame in technology. It's horrible. I'm a founder of a startup. I mentor worldwide. I provide lectures in Yale University. But to show you on my screen a video is something which I find it difficult.
Just 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
You're now a co-host, and you should be able to share.
Okay, share screen. Thank you. Perfect. So this is us, and here you can see the video. How this is our platform. Okay, so you create your own platform. The area that you are looking at, you have the map, you are putting all the files. By our special engine, you can create this platform. We have a document center, you can see the development of the product, etc. What I wanted to show with this video is as I said, I'm coming from a real estate family. And real estate people are very non-technology. They are very conformist. And they are like, okay, I want to have this portal. I want to show my investors the way I'm doing process, the area, the potential, and the cash on cash. And actually, they don't even give a chance to technology. So I wanted to show how easy it is and to tell you that even my family is using it. And I think that trying new ideas on your family and friends is another thing that will help you to grow very fast. Unlike, trying to take an opportunity from in a lean startup, they are talking about it a lot, like failing fast. So just go there and try to achieve your dreams, to create solutions to problems which you are close to. You don't need necessarily to solve, COVID-19 or to COVID the way that we will be on Mars. You can go for a simple thing and make it change in the world to make it a better place and easier for us to live in.
Thank you, Efra.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I mean, I have a question. I would like to start because you've been visiting international investors, and I think a lot of Danish, at least young companies, are like wondering, okay, but how do I get started? How do I kick in the door, and how do I make them listen to me?
Oh, I think it's a great question. I really like it because I think that to open doors is one of my my hobbies. A lot of people are like, scared in the beginning. So I really like to talk about it. It's networking online and offline. So obviously, to go international to investors from all around the world, we have now investors from Canada. And, we are like knocking on their doors. The most important thing is to do great research before, like to understand what is interesting for them. Because if you're going to someone and you're going to talk with him about your ventures and you want his money, obviously, you need to remember that his model is to invest. So he is looking for something which is in this field. You won't waste your time and his time on talking with someone from cybersecurity about real estate platform. But if you're going to an investor that not necessarily is tech investor, it can be investor that, is from the real estate area. And this is, I think, the biggest opportunity which people are not really thinking about when they raise money. They are going, to typical VCs, to typical private equities. So listen, there is like a bunch of people who wish to get some, added value of technology and innovation, and they can also invest money in your venture. And I think that when you start your seed money, it's much better to get money, which is like smart money, in a way that it's from the same, space. If it's a real estate space, if it's a e-commerce, I would go to a supermarket that is offline and actually try to do kind of a pilot and help him to sell online. And if you are going, to a manufacturing area and talking about supply chain. So the first money is much better when you have this kind of a partner who can fund you and provide you like the field to try your new technology.
Thank you so much. Priscilla Pervin raised his hand.
Yeah. Hi, I have a question to you. Like nowadays, we see lots of platforms to raise the money, like crowdfunding, seed, pre-seed, etc., etc. So, did you start with this platform, or you just go directly to your personal connection and networking?
So I can tell you something about it.
Yeah,
I
sure.
always say shoot for the stars, and you reach the moon, which means go to everybody, go to your personal network, go at least if it fits to your strategy. I wouldn't go to crowdfunding because my strategy is different, but it depends on the company product and about to go to market. You need to remember that while you are reaching out to potential investors, it's also a marketing, kind of way, because once someone sees it, even if he won't invest his money in your venture, he can, tell his friends about your venture because maybe he has a co-investor who actually likes this field, or maybe he can, be open up and would like to meet you because he thinks that you are interesting person to meet. Because, in the end of the day, we need to understand that people invest in people. And ideas is something which is developing all the time. We started by only providing our platform to real estate developers and operators to develop to their investors. Now we are selling to large groups that want to communicate with the first-time apartment buyers, because there is a lot of documentation and people who buy their first apartment, they can understand how the kitchen is going to look like. And, so you keep on evolving and developing your venture. I don't know if you guys know, but Samsung, for example, started as a company which sold machines to make pasta. So this was the first product. And so, you keep on evolving. So for your question, yeah, I think that you need to talk with as many people as you can, especially when you start your venture. A lot of time people tend to think that if they will share their idea, someone will make it. And this is why they're like hugging it and they don't want to talk with a lot of people. And this investor, he might create it himself, he has the funds. So I don't think so. I think that first, competition is necessary. If you don't have competition, it means that there is no pain. Okay? And the second thing, which I strongly believe, is that no one can create the solution to the problem like you will. So you understand, for example, I guess that now I'm sharing it, my solution and my, and I just started the company a year ago. We are like super fresh. It's my fourth venture. I had several startups before. But I say, come on, compete, do something better than I am doing. It will always increase the awareness. It will help me to reach out to better, better companies that are seeking for a solution.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would actually like to ask Hanan and maybe also
I prefer Q&A.
Yeah, like what's the absolute worst thing as a startup you can do when you approach an investor? How, what is like the worst thing? I mean, my personal fear would always be sort of to appear as any, just another random company, How do I actually, from this very moment we meet, have the trust of the investor,
So it's another very, very important question, another topic that it's super important for us to talk about. So the thing is, how can I stop sharing? I see that people are texting me in my group. Someone from Denmark is checking our system, just to let you know. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen, right? Okay. So sorry. Back to your question about investors and what is the worst thing you can do and how you can build trust. And obviously, so respectful for someone's time and attention, and respectful, and this is the basic. So as I started by saying, when I approach someone, I do a lot of research. I do kind of due diligence about this person. So I won't, waste someone's time. If I see that this person specific, I don't know, for example, he's a doctor and he's trying to find a cure for cancer, I won't touch base and ask him to check or to consult with me about my venture in the real estate area. It means that I don't respect his time. So I think it's important to start by doing due diligence about the person you're reaching out to. The second thing, it's very important to respect his time, which means you don't approach someone in weekends or in late night. I always approach people by mail, and I won't call anyone. Even if I have his number, I will text him to ask if it's convenient for him to talk with me. I think it's very essential to have respect to, someone's time. And if you have like 30 minutes with this guy, prepare yourself for a successful 30 minutes. Always use the basic rule of we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And even if I'm coming to sell my venture, I would prefer to listen, because once you provide the investor the ability to share his beliefs, his passions, you will be much better pitching him. You will prefer, make the pitch better for him. And I think it will create a lot of trust between you guys. Always, obviously, keep in touch, because sometimes you had like interesting conversation, but it wasn't the right time. So ping him, and you never know, because I think that being entrepreneur, it's kind of a disease without a cure. It's my 4th startup. So you keep on creating again and again and again. So you don't know if you would like to reach this guy maybe in your next venture. So it's very good for you to keep in touch. And to ping him from once in a while. Obviously, I would reach out to a new investor first in LinkedIn, because I want him to see that I'm a real person, and that he can understand that this person would just send him an email or ask him to show him is someone with background, is someone with maybe mutual interests, mutual followers, mutual friends. We're all human beings. We like to have something in common.
Absolutely. Very interesting. Hanan, what do you say? What's the worst thing, when you sit there being approached?
The worst or the best?
Let's do both, perhaps.
I think investors are really into what's called FOMO. Okay, they're not always the smartest people. You're probably the smartest person in the room, right? Once you talk to an investor, many times he's making himself the expert, but the reality is you're the expert and he's just listening. And I would say try to give him the understanding that you're an expert in your field. Try to understand that he's losing an opportunity if he's not investing in you. Okay, creating a lot of buzzwords, and even if you need to do name dropping of other funds or other companies you're talking to and potential customers, even if you don't have any customers yet, I would say, look, I talked to this company and this company, they're all interested in my solution. Create this kind of feeling that there is a train, and if an investor is not going to continue with you, he's going to lose the train. That works, I believe. What can I say that is not a good thing to do? Maybe the opposite. coming and saying, you're the smart investor, please lead me. That's not a good way to, you need to lead the investor to where you want him to be. And of course, don't come to also to brag too much. That's also something that I don't like. I don't like too much. Talk about partnership. Talk about how you see the short future, not necessarily only the long future. Talk about what you're going to do specifically with the money for the next 6 months, 1 year. Very specific. I need this amount of money that will be enough for X amount of months that will bring me to X milestone. So it means that you're very focused and you know what you want to do with the money.
So with very clear milestones, and it has to be measurable somehow.
Yes, very, very clear, because everything, in the way of an investor is kind of risk versus reward, right? Which means risk, the earlier the company is, it means that it's riskier, which means I'm going to lose all of my money, and I'm going to, nobody wants to raise a company from his portfolio. So that's the risk. So try to minimize the risk, which means I have customers, I know what I'm doing with the money, I know how to control the burn rate and not burn your money in 6 months on fancy offices. So that's on the pain side, on the risk. And then the opportunity, the bigger the opportunity is, right? Which means it's not enough to build a company that you want to sell for $50 million. You need to tell a story about how this company has a potential to grow much more than the 5 million, 10 million revenues, to get to 50 million revenues, even if that's like the longer term vision. Most investors don't want to invest in companies who have a nice solution that doesn't have a big vision behind it.
Thank you. I think both of you, all of you actually said that now the world is coming more flat, so to speak, because of the COVID-19 crisis. But how, let's say that I'm a company in Paraguay. I just realized the world is now open for new ventures. Capital is floating around, crossing borders and so on. But how do I, when I approach you, make sure that you don't think that this is just like a random company from Paraguay and you just delete the email or delete the SMS that I just sent that you talked about? How do I actually instantly make sure that you will perceive me as a serious startup in which you should invest?
Good question. I'll try to answer. I don't know about Paraguay. I think it's a question, a real big question about the geography of the investor. I said in my presentation, I think it's going to be a trend of investors from, most of the money comes from the US, right? And some from Europe. It's really built on Israeli money. It's built on foreign money. So I believe more investors will, open their horizons and maybe invest in Paraguay. There's a better chance they will invest in Denmark, better chance that they'll invest in Israel. And that I wouldn't send to someone who says very specifically, I'm not going to invest in Latin America if I'm from Paraguay. But having said that, if I was a startup in Denmark, I think what's very important in Israeli ecosystem that we think global from day one, which means I'm not interested in solving Israeli problems. By the way, also, it won't help me to expand from Israel to Syria and to our neighbors around, right? They're probably not going to take my solution. In Denmark, sometime you can say, I'll start in Denmark, and then I'll sell in Sweden, and then I go to Norway, maybe then I go to Germany. But that's not enough. We're trying to solve a problem that is a global problem. When we invested in ClickTech, by the way, a Swedish company in Lund, I wasn't there at the time, but I know the story. They sold only in Scandinavia area, but they had an amazing product. And the first thing that the fund did after is saying, guys, come, it's time to move the headquarters to the US, keep the R&D in Sweden, but start to think globally about your product. So if I was a company, I would try to emphasize that you're not trying to solve a specific problem of an area, but something that is a global issue.
Thank you. Any more comments?
I can share from my experience that the most important thing in the process is not afraid to ask questions the other side and even request things from the other side. I mean, It's really easy to trying to satisfy the venture capital. So anything he will ask, I will try to convince him and give him just in order to hope that he will give me the term sheet. But sometimes you should not do that. And I can give you an example. Biggest mistake we did at first, that once the venture capital told us, okay, let's do due diligence. I have my own chief information security officer and my own CISO. So I want to introduce to X or to Y. So we always did the same mistake. Say, okay, no problem, let's meet him. Okay, but the problem is that no, you have to remember that when he brings someone for the diligence, just like Hanan said it before, he's not always the expert. He's a businessman, right? So the reason he wants his diligence is more from the point of view from business side to check out if this specific CISO or this specific organization can be a potential customer. I mean, if I don't know, he will bring me three CISOs. Three of them say, "Oh my God, I want this product." So we see there is a market, right? We know we can sell this idea, actually sell it. And it was maybe our bigger mistake at first because a lot of time they send us to the not the right fit. And we even a couple of times in front of the venture capital told to the CISO who came to do for us the due diligence, you're not a customer. So you're not our customer. You don't use the same technology. You don't understand nothing. It's not your pain. So for us, you're not a customer. And it's a challengeable situation because the VC wasting his time, we're wasting our time, the person who came in for the due diligence wasting his time. So sometimes it's easier to stop the process and say, okay, wait a second. We need, in order to do a real due diligence, is I need from your side X, Y, Z. I don't know. I need companies in Denmark with average size between 2,000 to 5,000 employees using technology of, let's say, Java as a stack, and we have to talk to person which is technology oriented or business oriented, doesn't matter what, because now both sides can see who is the real target buyer, what's our real go-to market, and better understand if they want to invest or not.
Thank you so much. I think we have another question from, we got Klaus. Let's start with you. I think.
Yes, I work for Copenhagen Business Hub, and we are a government-sponsored organization working to help Danish startups to grow larger. And it is a little bit a question for Hanan Brand, I think. When I heard you, it's about time moving your headquarter from Sweden to Silicon Valley. To me, I can of course see it from the investor side. They need to recap their money and earn money on it. But from a country point of view, it's a little bit a pity that the interesting startups then seek elsewhere. What would it take for a VC or an investor to maintain the headquarters in a country like Denmark? Why is it not interesting enough to stay here, or in Sweden for that sake?
I think it's a great question. Maybe I'll rephrase. I'm not sure if the headquarters, which means where you pay taxes, you can continue and pay taxes in Denmark. Most of the Israeli unicorns, I believe, are still 95% of their employees are in Israel, and the headquarters are in Israel, and they don't move the IP outside. What I mean is, without the CEO, president, or somebody very senior for the company sitting where most of the customers are, it's very hard. So what we see is once a company gets to growth, most of the heads of the companies move to where the target market, which could probably be, it could be in Europe, but it needs to be where most of your customers are, and most of the R&D stays in the country. So it could be a company with I'm not sure about ClickTech, worth checking out, but I believe they have today 1,000 employees. Maybe they have 100 in the US who are sales, marketing, etc. But the 900 developers and engineers are probably still sitting in Lund, which creates a lot of benefits for the economy. Now, to decide where the headquarters are and where you want to pay taxes, that's your business. You're in the government. You make sure the company wants to stay in Copenhagen for not go to Cayman Islands, so they don't pay taxes. That's something that the government needs to take into consideration. But most of the companies, the R&D stays where it started.
So it was mostly a point of having a top level phase in the country where the most of your customers are. That was the main purpose, basically. While the technicians, the actual knowledge, the capacity stays in the country. That is fine from the investor point of view.
Yeah, there's just another point, which means the valuations, right? If I want to create $1 billion company, I know how much money there is in the Silicon Valley compared to how much money is there for venture capital, private equity in Scandinavia, right, or in Israel. Yeah. So it means that if my company has a very clear presence in New York or in the Valley, it's probably going to grow much quicker, get to NASDAQ maybe quicker. That's another reason I think that a lot of investors prefer that the company's headquarters moves to the US.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. Priscilla, you raised your hand before. You still have a question? I can get you unmute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had a question to Hannah Brandt because it's a basic question. If I approach to one investor one time and I got denied, is it I mean decent way to approach him another time, or just I need to quit that time? That okay, he says no, so it's no.
Fat, I think you need to answer that. Of course, look, don't trust any investor. Most investors, as I said, have no clue and don't understand what you're doing. Could be that he rejected you because he had a bad mood. Could be that he rejected you because he doesn't have any money to invest in you. In many cases, it's not about you; it's about them, right? Like in dating. So and like in dating, before you choose your wife or your husband, you see 100 people. So I would say the same here. Most investment, it's not love from first sight. You should probably not be discouraged that one investor said no.
Fantastic. Efrain?
So I was from the investor side as well as part of my career. And as I was mentioning before, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I would love to answer to this question because it's a really tough one. No one likes to hear no. And I think that once you understand how the system works, you understand that it's not about you. In every VC, there is amount of investment they are making every year. And they have the structure of 7 years of the fund. So if you're going to meet the fund on their 5th year, you are probably gonna get a no. And in each fund, in each venture, you have like 3 to 4 partners, for example. And if this partner was making several investments this year, so if you will meet him, he will probably say no because he already did some investments. But if you will meet his partner who never invested during this year, he could say yes, because he needs to show that he brings value to the venture and he's doing some investments. Also, there is a lot of things that are about the competition. If they have something which is similar in the venture, they're not going to invest in something which is very close, because then they have like 2 companies competing on the same kind of clients. So there is a lot of issues behind it. And once as entrepreneur, you understand that it's not only about you, or as I prefer to do, a better research before you go to the investor, and you understand that this fund is on our 5th year, for example, or that this particular partner is already done 5 investments this year. You can change your strategy and go to the other partner or go to another VC, and to increase the potential they will write a check.
Yeah, just kind of to say the opposite of what I said before, and maybe if many times it is about them and not about you. But if it's after 20 meetings and you're not getting to the second meeting every time, so they reject you, I would start to see maybe there is something that you can improve, or maybe it's not a good fit. Maybe ask for feedback. Because if for 20 times they say, no, it's an interesting idea, the market is not big enough, or maybe then it's about you, right? it's time to maybe change strategy. I don't believe in people who say, you know, never give up. After 100 meetings of VCs, now meet another 100. If you're getting a no after a no, then there's probably something that needs to be changed.
Thank you so much for participating today. It's been I've gotten a lot of super valuable input. I promised you a guest star from Denmark today, Morten Møller. However, I'm not sure that he is with us today. He participated in our previous 2 webinars, but I think we don't have him on board today. That leads me to, again, to thank everyone for participating today, especially to our speakers. I hope that you all got important takeaways from today. If you would like to know more about what you can learn from Israel being a startup nation and how you can make your startup more resilient, we are coming to Denmark later this year, teaching our survival toolbox course to Danish startups. And again, if you want to participate, you can go visit our website. That said, I would like to wish you all a very lovely Wednesday, and hope to be in contact with you again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.